You get to a certain age and suddenly start giving zero F's about being perfect, about maintaining a certain status, about pleasing people, because quite frankly, at this age, just trying to handle and manage and keep up with your own things, especially things like your health. If you're somebody that has kids, you've got a lot on your plate. So worrying about other people, what other people think, about anything else that doesn't move you in a direction that you need to go becomes a non-priority. So as a 45-year-old woman, one of the things for me is just doing things very messy. I realize I'm somebody who I have multiple interests. I do a lot of things. They call it multi-passionate, and they're always pulling me in different directions. But I keep coming back to a few things simply because I have less bandwidth to give to all the things. So for me, getting consistent in doing these videos, but also, I have to focus on my health because things have changed. Perimenopause is kicking my behind, and things that were normal before are not normal now. I was somebody who always had blood pressure on the lower end. All of a sudden last year, my blood pressure just started to rise rather. And granted, I think it was there was a specific thing contributing to it. Now it's more or less back to normal. But then things like LDL started to rise, which I don't have a history of cholesterol in my family, high cholesterol. I do, however, have hypertension in my family and diabetes and certain cancers. So bearing in mind that I'm in perimenopause, the questions I have to ask my care team, and I'm not talking just your primary doctor, but all the other professionals that take care of my health, different questions. When it comes to food alone can't do some things. So you have to be digging deeper. So the blood work that you're doing, just getting a regular blood panel is not cutting it, or doesn't cut it. As a matter of fact, you would be hard pressed to find physicians who are willing to listen to you, especially as a woman. And if you're a black woman and you're talking about perimenopause and you are saying to them all the discussions that you've seen, all the things that you've read, can we look for something different? Can we dig deeper rather? And you have to fight, you have to advocate, because right now my patience is thin for bullshit. Like, if you can't help me, I'm going to find somebody else. The sad part is it does take a while to find people who will listen to you. You literally have to go through a few people first before you can find somebody. If you're blessed to find somebody who will take your concerns to heart in a very short space of time, that's a blessing. But when you have to do multiple rounds of clinic visits, or conversations, and feel dismissed, or you're just not listened to, it does take a toll. That said, you still have to advocate as much as you can for yourself. So I'm literally sitting right now waiting to go do some additional blood work, because those numbers that I talk about have been shifting, and I have requested that we go deeper. In fact, this physician I was seeing before kept saying, you're young and your hormones are normal. Regular annual blood work doesn't show you much about hormones. And furthermore, even if it did, it was a snapshot of a day, right? So you kind of have to ask different questions and look deeper. So I'm doing blood work again. This is my second set of blood work in 3 months, because we are digging deeper. So this is me just to say, this has nothing to do with food. This has everything to do with just what you're willing to put up with. And being a woman of perimenopause age, means honestly I have less bandwidth, less cares to give. I just want some answers, or be put in a put on the path to getting answers. And even if I don't fully understand, what I want is to be treated like somebody who cares about themselves and not be dismissed. Right now, the thing about living in America is you don't know what you're going to get. And thankfully for me, thus far, my search has landed me someplace that the person I have dealt with makes me feel heard from the very first visit. And so, in that regard, I am hopeful for, getting some, I wouldn't say resolution, but um, assistance in helping me make sense of what's going on with my own body, because every day is something new, or every day it's a reminder that you are no longer a 30-year-old and your body is changing, and you have to learning rather, to be compassionate, to be caring to yourself in the face of these changes, as a way of fighting back with the systems and structures and messages that exist out there that women and girls absorb, that your body is something that needs to be fixed and you're at fault if something changes, and you have to do everything in your power to reverse it or not change it or not let it change. So every day is a day is a every day is a day to give yourself some grace, and I will use that often just because it's something I have learned and I continue to learn to do. It does not mean I'm lazy. It does not mean that I don't care about my health. It does not mean that I don't want certain things. It just means that when things don't happen the way I expect them to, or I can't predict what will happen, then it it means nothing about me. It means nothing about my worth. It means nothing about my care of myself. So this is just a reminder to anybody going through it right now, perimenopause. And bear in mind that everything is marketed to us now. This is like the diet craze of the 80s or 90s, where the target was, being skinny. Granted, being skinny never went out of style. It continues to prevail, but what I'm seeing now is the menopause space, with all these supplements and gimmicks and diet plans and all of that, as a way to feed yet into the insecurities that women hold, largely because of what we've been indoctrinated all our lives, that we are responsible for our bodies staying a certain way, and if it does change, then we need to do everything in our power to fix it. And if we're not, then something is wrong with us. And if we're not worthy of this and we're not worthy of that. I'm tired. It's exhausting. So for me, it's not about following the trend. It's honestly about listening to my body and being patient as much as I can, because patience is not my it's not my strong suit. I've gotten better at it and I'm getting better at it, but it isn't my strong suit. And having conversations with girlfriends who are going through the same thing, it's quite an interesting thing, because all our experiences are different yet the same. And they're the same in that our bodies have changed in ways that we never knew would happen, or we never saw the discussions happening with, our elders, or the women that are in our lives that are much older than us, our moms, our aunties. We never saw them talk about it. It was always hush hush and taboo. And if you're from the Caribbean, talking about women's health, like period and sexual health and reproductive health, is taboo. It's like you mustn't talk about it. You must suffer in silence. And I saw my mother do that, and I never heard my aunties talk about it It's just now that I'm of the age and I'm in a world where the internet exists, social media exists. Information is now much more readily available and at our fingertips, and conversations are happening both online and offline. And it is, I'm hopeful that with these conversations that women behind us will be better equipped and armed to navigate this period of their lives, because nothing like women have to go through, like we go through puberty, and if you get pregnant, then there's that, and then you have to deal with perimenopause, and then you have to deal with menopause. That's a lot to go through, right? And yet the expectations are that we do all of these things and continue. Men, on the other hand, get a paper cut and the world is ending. Like, they can't do nothing. We go through, have a period every month and have to show up in life, right? It's like, how fair is that? But also, that's a metaphor for something. You figure out what that is. But it's just a reminder that, yeah, if you're a woman over the age of 40, or you're a woman that's going through the perimenopause stage and dealing with the changes, good and bad changes, and questioning yourself and wondering when you will feel normal or get back to normal. Again, this is a call to be compassionate with oneself. This is a call to take your time, be easy with yourself. Honestly, beating yourself up is the worst thing to do. Trying to punish your body is the worst thing you could ever do. Self-care isn't necessarily the soft things to do. The reality of it, as we go through the menopause transition, where you're in perimenopause, there's changes that inevitably have to be made. The things that you could do when you were 20, you are less, what's the word? You can't do them now, basically, right? If you used to not eat when you were younger, for whatever reason, you can't do that now. You need to eat. You need to not just eat anything. Eat as nutritionally sound as you possibly can, working with the access that you have, the resources that you do have. You basically have to make an effort. And this is not about dieting, and I will say that anytime I talk about eating, I'm not talking about dieting, even in the context of having to make changes because of the age that you're now at, or the stage that you're now at, being perimenopause or menopause. I'm not talking about dieting here. And granted, that conversation can easily be had because there are so many. It's always one of the main things that comes up for us women. Diet, let's lose some weight and all the problems will be fixed. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about paying attention to the foods we eat, understanding the ways food can help, but also understand the ways that food can exacerbate certain situations, in addition to environmental factors, in addition to other things. But food, because I always come back to food. This is an opportunity rather to learn what will help you and what will not. So everybody is different. Some people respond to certain foods certain ways. I'm not talking about allergies here. I'm just talking about general sense of nourishment. Let's call it that. And not everybody needs to be on a diet. Not everybody needs to cut out all the foods. Like, I don't have dairy largely because dairy is not good to me at all. And the discomfort and pain from consuming dairy is worth me leaving it out. Maintaining a diet that has a lot of plants, a lot of beans and fiber is also important right now, given the considerations that I have to make, for my cholesterol And even my blood pressure, despite my blood pressure being back to normal now, I'm still very much mindful of ways in which what I eat and how stressed I am and the activities that I engage or don't engage in can impact those markers. Is weight one of the things that people will talk about that can also impact those things? I will say again, weight is not a behavior. At least I don't think I've said that here, but I will say it now, that weight itself is not a behavior. Weight is simply an outcome, if not and sometimes a symptom of something else, but it is not a behavior. And yes, there will be studies that talk about weight and still use weight as a marker of health. I will not, right? And this is not to dismiss the science, but this is to say that I am not focusing on the weight so much as I am caring about the behaviors. And the behaviors may or may not impact weight. It doesn't mean, again, that you're lazy. It doesn't mean that you don't care about your health. It just simply means that you're choosing to focus on behaviors that tend to be sustainable and can be more sustainable and more impactful, right? So for me, it's making sure I get enough sleep. Hydration is one of those things that I have to pay attention to, because for some reason with ADHD, I get fixated and by it and don't drink a sip of water. Next thing I look, half the day gone and I barely had a bottle of water or my usual amount of water. So hydration, which can also impact things like blood pressure and that type of thing. So enough of this rambling, but I just wanted to say that perimenopause is kicking my behind. Still, I'm going to be compassionate and show myself care. Still, I'm going to nourish myself in a way that makes sense. So I will include my plant-based foods. I will make sure I get as much water as I can. I will, minimize the red meat as much as I can, and the saturated fat. I will, walk, or I am doing these things. I'm walking as much as I can. I walk after meals. I do a post breakfast, post lunch, post dinner walk. I will do these things because, one, I have adjusted my mindset that rather than these being another thing I have to do, yes, they are, it's also giving me an opportunity to exercise my free will. That's really what it comes down to. And also, I'm recovering, coming off of a surgery that had me not walking a lot for a better part of 3.5 months. So I am not trying to make up for it, but I am cognizant of that impact. So it's trying to lower the impact of that going forward. So all these adjustments, all these changes, all these things that we need to do as women, I need to do as a woman, it can be a lot, but again, I'm giving myself grace and I'm just taking it one day at a time, doing what I can, the best I can, and let that be enough. My body will be my body. I can't do much about it other than just care for it, and that's the ultimate message. So that's it for today, and I hope you too can just look at your body and be grateful for all that it has done for you, how far it's carried you, and where it will carry you. Continue to do the things that help you feel better, move better, live a little better. Whatever those things might be less judgmental of yourself and critical of your body. It's doing the best it can. All right? Bye.